倒闭，倒闭，倒闭，柠檬茶倒闭。
This store's closed. This one closed. Closed. Even the lemon tea shop is out of business. Right here too. Look, even Misha ice cream and tea couldn't survive. This is gate 6 of Wanda Golden Street, the main area. Look here, right at the entrance. The first snack shop has already shut down.
A Chinese vlogger shared scenes of Xiamen's Wanda Golden Street, where one restaurant after another has closed down.
整个一条街啊，有多少家倒闭的店铺啊？
This whole street is full of closed shops, so many that I've lost count. Xiamen is known for its relatively strong spending power, and this business district is one of its most iconic. Yet, it's filled with shuttered stores. It's hard to stay optimistic about the restaurant industry in 2025 when you see so many businesses failing like this.
At the beginning of January 2025, a local in Xiamen shared a video saying, "No one, no one, no one. What's happened to Xiamen? The once bustling street of open-air food stalls is now deserted and eerily quiet." Getting off work around 7 p.m., I rode an almost empty bus for the first time. The entire bus was practically a private ride. It was so empty. At 3Q City in Xiamen's Haikang district, the place is desolate. It's just way too quiet. You won't believe what's happening in Xiamen right now. Many big companies are laying off staff and cutting salaries, and countless small businesses are teetering between loss and bankruptcy. Just earlier, I had dinner with a friend who told me he's planning to return to his hometown with his wife. That was likely our last meal together in Xiamen. I asked him if he had any hope of starting over back home after all these years here. He said even going out to eat has become a luxury, with an 8,000 yuan monthly mortgage that's suffocating him. His company's performance is poor. Salaries have been cut instead of increased, and layoffs are always looming. As for selling his home, prices keep dropping, and even if someone buys it, he still owed the bank a significant sum. Experts talk about people refusing to spend out of malice, but it's not about that. Most people simply have no money. Over 90% of Xiamen residents probably couldn't even come up with 200,000 yuan if they needed to, and many wouldn't even have 50,000 on hand. Living costs in Xiamen are extremely high. Speaking for myself, by the time I've paid rent, staff salaries, my mortgage, and living expenses, including costs for my kids, I'm just scraping by. This is the reality. Real estate blogger Mr. Tan noted that many people in Xiamen are now living on porridge. He estimated that 80% of households in the city are essentially living paycheck to paycheck, with no fiscal cushion to fall back on. Let me be clear. I'm not trying to stir up anxiety. It's simply true that most people in Xiamen are just barely making ends meet. If you have cash on hand and your assets aren't outweighed by debt, congratulations, you're set for survival. On the surface, monthly incomes in Xiamen seem pretty decent, but after mortgages, daily expenses, car loans, and more, there's barely anything left. If layoffs or salary cuts hit, people are forced to dip into their savings. Right now, having 100,000 yuan in cash in Xiamen is considered a big deal. A Chinese vlogger shared the story of Ah Chai, a homeowner in Xiamen's Haikang district. The house he bought for 4.5 million yuan has dropped to 2.5 million in value, losing over 2 million yuan in just 8 years. Ah Chai's company is facing instability with layoffs last month, and he's worried he might be next. Fortunately, his wife earns over 10,000 yuan a month, but the couple is under immense stress. They're working harder than ever, yet their spirits are nearly broken. Life has become tougher than before, and every time they talk about the house's plummeting value, it kills their mood. Even though they own a home, Ah Chai still suffers from insomnia. With a 3.1 million yuan mortgage, they're locked into paying 15,600 yuan every month. Looking back on the past few years of hard work, they feel worse off than those who didn't buy a house. Owning a home feels like a cruel joke, leaving them wondering what's gone wrong with society. One user commented, "As a Fujian native who grew up in Xiamen, which feels like my second hometown, I could say Xiamen is beautiful. But after 2022, I chose to move to Guangdong. Xiamen is just too small, and its development has been declining over the past couple of years. Housing prices have also dropped significantly." Another commenter added, "Xiamen is such a peculiar city. Wages are so low, expenses are so high, and housing prices are completely out of reach." A blogger also noticed that some large malls have resorted to hiring extras just to create a sense of crowd and activity. Good evening, everyone. I'm here at COFCO, Joy City in Jimei. Do you know why all these people are lighting up behind me? The mall hired extras to create some buzz. They're getting paid 200 yuan a day to sit here and make it look busy. Just imagine how tough the economy must be this year. Many of these folks are probably unemployed. Let's take a look around. Look at this crowd. Miss, what are you doing here? 200 yuan. Just look at all these people. I asked some of them, but they were too embarrassed to answer. You see, they're all young people here at Joy City. It's the end of the year, so everyone, hold on to your wallets. Don't overspend. These people are taking up gigs as extras for 200 yuan a day. Watch your money, and especially be careful about scams. A video shared online shows rows of closed shops along Zhongshan Road in Xiamen. Once a bustling area, it now feels eerily quiet, especially at night.
I have a local friend from Xiamen who told me he just can't stay there anymore. He even asked to borrow 30,000 yuan to move to Zhangzhou and start over. I laughed at first, but honestly, it felt so helpless. He said the cost of living in Xiamen is out of control and wages just can't keep up. Prices keep climbing. You can't even get a bowl of shacha noodles without paying over 100 yuan. If you don't believe me, try it yourself. For Gen Z, building a future in Xiamen is nearly impossible. Think back to 10 or so years ago. Xiamen was packed with people full of energy. Now, some say it's turned into a backyard retreat for Fujian's wealthy, but even the rich don't necessarily want to stay here forever, which shows how much its appeal has faded. So is Xiamen's population growing or shrinking? It's got first-tier city housing prices, second-tier city living costs, and third-tier city wages. You won't starve here, but you won't get rich either. What's next for Xiamen's future?
家人们，厦门
What's happening to Xiamen? Why is everyone saying it's a city losing its population so rapidly? I've lived here for 6 years, and this year has been the hardest. I saw a post about Xiamen's current state, and the comments were overwhelming. Many people said they couldn't find decent jobs. A lot of businesses in Xiamen are either cutting salaries or laying off staff. I think that's one reason for the population decline. Let's discuss this. I've summed up a few points. Let me know if you agree. First, finding a job is genuinely difficult. This year, most listings on job websites are for servers, salespeople, or customer service positions. These jobs are high pressure, with almost no chance for a pay raise. Many e-commerce companies have closed down, and some business owners have even taken off with the money. Second, wages are low, but rents aren't. The average salary in Xiamen in 2024 is set to be 16,000 yuan. I can't help but laugh. How many people actually earn that? Most salaries are probably around 4,000 to 5,000 yuan. Renting a single room costs at least 1,500 yuan, and a 3-bedroom for a family is no less than 3,000 yuan, often far from the metro. As for housing prices on the island, even average places cost 40,000 to 50,000 yuan per square meter. In Xiang'an, which is farther from the city center, it's still 21,000 yuan per square meter. Finally, starting a business is incredibly challenging. Foot traffic in shopping areas is dwindling, while online shopping keeps growing. People want to start their own businesses, but are too afraid of losing money. Many shop owners have fled, taking money and inventory with them. This has left others struggling to protect themselves from sudden losses.
气都气死了！我开车开了多少公里过来？
It's so frustrating. I drove so many kilometers to get here. This is my 3rd trip. A month ago, the manager told me they were temporarily closed for adjustments. Now they're saying the owners already run off. Come on, guys. Why do you repay my trust like this? 3 of my power banks are still in there, and I already prepaid for the service. What am I supposed to do now? I'm Dao from a shared charging company. If any Xiamen business owners are planning to shut down, could you please notify us in advance? At least let us retrieve our equipment first. The struggling real estate sector has caused widespread issues. As the year-end approaches, more cases of workers demanding unpaid wages have emerged. Construction projects, particularly those affected by broken funding chains, are the hardest hit. On January 3rd, a migrant worker in Guangyishan, Xiamen, climbed a tower crane to demand his wages. Reports from various TikTokers confirmed the incident. Early that day, workers at the site held a banner demanding their wages. One worker then climbed the crane, which had no safety nets below, and remained there for over 2 hours. Firefighters and police eventually arrived, and after negotiations, the worker climbed down safely. Xiamen is a key city on China's southeastern coast and one of the first 4 special economic zones open to foreign investment. It holds sub-provincial city status. In the first half of 2023, Xiamen's GDP reached 372.6 billion yuan, growing by only 1.2%. This was the lowest growth among major Chinese cities reporting their data, and the only one below 2%. In the first 3 quarters of 2024, Xiamen's fixed asset investment fell by 12% year-on-year, heavily impacted by declining real estate investment. This drop was 10 percentage points steeper than the previous year. Import-export growth also turned negative, declining 2.7% year-on-year. China's economy has been on a downward trend in recent years, with many foreign companies leaving the country, leading to job losses. Official data shows that between 2018 and 2023, employment at foreign-funded enterprises in China fell from 28.2 million in a 27.7% drop. As one of China's special economic zones, Xiamen is close to Taiwan, with only about 6 kilometers separating it from Taiwan's Kinmen Island. This proximity gives Xiamen an edge in attracting Taiwanese investment. However, since June 2023, when Beijing issued its so-called 22 measures against Taiwan independence, Taiwan's government raised its travel alert for mainland China, Hong Kong, and Macau to orange, advising against non-essential travel. According to a Reuters report citing foreign sources, Beijing's recent measures have prompted some Taiwanese workers and multinational companies in China to assess the risks for Taiwanese employees working in mainland China. Some Taiwanese staff in China have already been offered and accepted the option to leave. Following the US-China trade war, global supply chains have undergone major shifts, with investors and foreign companies quietly moving operations out of China. This trend accelerated after the pandemic as the business environment in China continued to deteriorate. Many Taiwanese businesses have started relocating to Southeast Asia. On October 16, 2024, Chinese leader Xi Jinping visited Xiamen and toured the city's free trade zone. Local officials praised his visit, presenting a facade of prosperity. However, Xi remains detached from the struggles of ordinary citizens. In 1985, Xi Jinping served as Xiamen's deputy mayor. His close ally, Vice Premier He Lifeng, also rose through the ranks in Xiamen, starting as an office staff member in the city government before becoming deputy mayor. Despite their ties to the city, Xiamen's current struggles paint a troubling picture. Xiamen is also a key platform for Beijing's efforts to integrate Taiwan under its so-called Cross-Strait Connectivity Initiative. In September 2023, China's central government and state council announced policies to promote closer integration between Xiamen and Taiwan's Kinmen Island. These measures granted Kinmen residents the same benefits as Xiamen locals. The move was widely seen as a signal of Beijing's intentions towards unifying Taiwan. Recently, Taiwanese influencer Ba Qiong, known for his anti-communist stance, and singer Chen Bo-yuan, a former figure in Beijing's propaganda efforts, released a documentary titled Documentary on China's United Front, a 2-part series. The film sparked widespread debate across the Taiwan Strait. The documentary highlights Chen Bo-yuan's visit to Xiamen's Taiwan youth entrepreneurship base, revealing how Beijing uses incentives like forgivable startup loans to lure young Taiwanese. The film uncovers how these programs turn participants into tools for China's political agenda against Taiwan. During his trip, Chen also conducted informal interviews with locals. One taxi driver revealed that Xiamen is now nearly deserted. He said taxi drivers and logistics workers are barely earning enough, and many industries in the area are struggling. He said, "Tourists have dropped by half, and most locals have left due to business overseas. The overall economic environment in China is terrible." A taxi driver explained that Xiamen is now almost empty. He said drivers like himself and workers in logistics services, such as La Move, are struggling to earn a living. He said, "Tourists have dropped by half." Another taxi driver openly criticized the government, saying, "They keep talking about reunification and war. If they want to do it, just get it over with. All this constant talk makes it impossible for people to focus on making a living." Xiamen's economic decline reflects broader trends across China. Many cities are experiencing widespread store closures and soaring unemployment rates. Mr. Li, a resident of Xiamen in Fujian province, told Western media that many coastal cities, once leaders in economic growth, are now struggling. He said, "In recent years, most businesses have failed, whether it's running a shop, a factory, a travel agency, or an entertainment venue. For example, some factory owners gave workers a few days off, then sold off their equipment. Workers returned to find no jobs, while the owners were left with debts and no business. Some couldn't even pay salaries. Mr. Li added, in some areas, public buses have stopped running because they can't afford to pay drivers. While buses in Xiamen are still operating, many taxis are no longer on the road. The number of taxis has dropped significantly compared to before. Electric scooters are very popular now because they save costs and are more convenient for people to ride themselves. Summing up his trip to mainland China, Chen Boyuan remarked, everyone I spoke to said the economy here is in terrible shape. It's super bad. People know this, but they have no outlet to express their frustrations. Some even bypass the Great Firewall to access overseas websites. Taiwanese influencer Ba Chong, who collaborated with Chen on the documentary, said the trip not only debunked China's inflated economic claims and its efforts to influence Taiwanese influencers, but also exposed corruption. He revealed that Fujian-based networks and intermediaries in Taiwan are using Beijing's political agendas as a cover for embezzlement, further worsening China's economy.